Oh, to live in a world where Ant-Man will get 3 films.
Hello and welcome to Real Opinions. Today we are going over a perspective look of Marvel's Phase 2 films.
In anticipation of Ant-Man, which will top all of them. When
Definitely.
it's out.
Oh, yeah.
Peyton
It's-
Reed, yeah!
If it's not number one in the box office, I don't know what will. Star Wars just doesn't have a chance. So we're going through chronologically.
So the beginning of Phase 2, in the wake of the first Avengers movie.
You said in the wake twice already. That's
Alright.
a really specific thing.
Alright, there you go! Motherfucker.
Literally.
First is Shane Black's Iron Man 3. Do you want me to go first? Because I
Yeah,
know
go.
we hold pretty much the exact same opinion. In fact, Jack, what do you think of Iron Man 3?
Yeah,
Dickhead.
it was. Oh, I did.
Alright.
I did enjoy it. It's just one of my. It's not my least favorite on the list. I didn't think it was a great superhero film. That's the thing.
Does it have to be a great superhero?
No, it doesn't have to be a great superhero film.
That's
if
what
it's
I
part
like
of a
about it.
superhero collection. I mean, it's like first half good, and I'm not cancelling the twist. Are we including
Trevor
twist?
twist.
I don't mind that. That's
Just say
good. I
Trevor,
think that's
don't
good.
say the twist.
Trevor. It's just the bit where it's half of the film is just Robert Downey Jr. running around feeling sorry for himself.
But that's what I liked about it. I like how they dug into the vulnerability of Tony Stark more than any of the other films, I think. Especially, and they clued that in especially well with the whole climax of Avengers. And by Age of Ultron, it felt like they kept going back to the whole nuclear bomb through the space portal thing way too
Yeah.
much. But Iron Man 3 is the one that really deals with it really well. The fact that he can't sleep, because this
I think
this guy has dealt with aliens and been through space, and he's just kind of, I mean, he's a billionaire, but at the same time he's a human. He didn't know aliens exist.
I think at the same time, since it's right after, I think it gets more of a license to keep referencing back to it.
Exactly.
Because Age of Ultron, it's been quite a while since the last one, even though it's a
Exactly.
direct sequel.
It has, I think, probably, bar maybe Guardians, the best sense of humour out of all
I'd
of
say
the
that's
Marvel
best.
films.
It's the only one where I would say
Yeah.
I'd never found the humour forced. It's the only
Yeah.
film where I could say that.
And not just that, but it's... You mentioned the Trevor twist. Trevor is probably, arguably, my
best moment.
favourite
Yeah.
part of any Marvel movie ever.
Me too.
Just not only because of the balls it took to do it, but how surprising it was, and how just fucking hilarious.
It's still
I could not-
hilarious, even though I expected
Exactly. Even just thinking about it makes me giggle in
Yeah.
my head.
Me too.
It's just...
For me, it's my favourite Marvel film of them all.
Really?
Yeah, because I think it's sort of leading on from what you said. I get more excited for the Marvel films based on who directs them. So I get more excited for a Shane Black film or a Joss Whedon film or a James Gunn film
Than
than
an
I
Iron
do
Man
for an
film.
Iron Man
Yeah.
film. So, because it's such a great Shane Black film, I love it.
And it has that brilliant kind of buddy cop thing.
That's
towards
exactly
the
yeah.
end
Towards
with
the end, when
Rhodey
it
and-
basically
yeah.
becomes Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but with robots, and like
Yeah.
perfect. If you Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with robots,
It's even got the whole Christmas thing in there, just
Yeah.
randomly.
I like the Christmas. That's
It's-
well,
it's-
the meta narration and all
Yeah.
those things. I love the bit with the kid as well. That's a bit I never mentioned enough. Where the kid, where he's like, "Oh, come,
It
can I
seems
come
so
with you?" And
sincere
he's just
as
like,
well.
"No."
Yeah. There's none of that kind of like Hollywoody
Yeah.
kind of
no,
like,
because
oh,
they could have
kids
done
in
it
the
like
future.
really
cheesy
and
and
they didn't. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Right.
it's my favourite for being such a great Shane Black film rather than for being an Iron Man
Definitely.
film.
Awesome. Right, next in the roster is Thor: The Dark World.
Keep it like do it fast this time.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say vote is most forgettable of the lot.
I
It's
sort of
not-
agree.
must be-
even
I
though
agree
not
too.
my
It's
favourite.
not my least favourite, but I definitely agree it's the most forgettable.
I agree. Yeah.
Again-
I think it's the first Marvel film where I felt like the humour was starting to get a bit too
Yeah.
much. Like that's where it felt like let's make a funny film. Like,
It's definite that the intention's there as
Yeah.
well. Like, I feel like they didn't quite get what they wanted, because it was obviously they hired the guy that did Game of Thrones, some episodes of Game of Thrones. They're like, let's make it Game of Thronesy, and it never quite got there. But I like the humour. I like
There's
the
some of the
Earth
humour
bits
bits
more.
Some of the humour bits are funny.
Yeah.
But it's the
The
first
Joss
one where I
Whedon
The
felt
scene
first one where you
awkward.
feel like it's a bit wearing a bit. On
Yeah.
and
The human characters, like we were saying this before, Natalie Portman and Kat Dennings, they
So
just feel a bit annoying and overused by this point. Like, they're just there so Thor can have a love interest.
Still like Loki. Loki's
Oh, Loki's good.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think the reason I just don't like it as much as the other one, I don't really like the fantasy element as much.
Yeah,
as
that's true.
So
It
I
is a
think
bit
if it
more
was a
out
big
there.
fantasy fan, I think that would probably go much,
Oh,
much
yeah,
higher.
definitely.
It's just that element. I'm
People that are really into fantasy, I guess this would be their favourite.
Yeah.
Because it is done
Yeah.
well. Right, next on the list is the pretty controversial, at least among us, Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Go first, because you'll take off some of the heat, because you actually
Yeah, you
like,
like
it more
it.
than us.
I quite liked it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't come out of it hating it. I think if I watched it again, I think I'd get a bit more tired of it. I started rewatching it actually, and they did the on your left joke.
That
And I
joke
felt tired of
pisses
it
me
just from
off
the-
so.
and-
It's such a. It's because it's so overquoted. It's like it wasn't funny in the first place.
Was it overquoted? I've
People
never
like
quoted it.
go
so,
on
but-
about-
Everywhere, all over Tumblr, all over the Marvel.
It wasn't
fandom
funny the
sites.
first time, and
No.
now
Yeah.
it's really not funny.
This is my problem with this film. I don't dislike it by any stretch of the imagination.
It's so overhyped.
Yeah, I don't.
to-
I think
yeah.
it's way better than quite a lot of the Phase 1 stuff, aside from the first Captain America.
I would say it's actually my least favourite Marvel
But
film overall.
I
Out of
think-
any of them.
I think what's put me off so much is the fact that it's so overhyped.
Me too.
I mean,
I
it's
agree.
the action's pretty good, the choreography's
The
really
action's
great.
good.
I love the chemistry between Captain America and Black Widow. I
Oh,
love
I
the fact that
don't.
they use
I
Black
get on my
Widow.
nerves too.
Well, I love the fact that they use her. I love a lot of the humour in it. I love the one thing I
What
love
humour
most.
in it?
There is some
Besides
clever-
on your left.
I admit, there's
Not
that
that.
much. There's not much.
but there are some good quips, like when they're never mind, like the casual,
like Falcon.
Falcon is a
The
good joke.
casual-
You're right. Yes,
Oh.
Falcon is.
the casualness, like when he jumps out of the plane at the beginning, and there's just like any plans. He's just like no.
Oh
just
no,
jumps
that
out. Does he have a parachute? No, he's Captain America. He doesn't need a parachute. Oh, fine. Let's move on. But the rest of it just feels like the Winter Soldier's barely in it.
Yeah, that
It's
annoys
called
me
the
too.
Winter Soldier, and he's not the villain.
And he's not developed at all.
No,
as a thing.
I like what they did with Hydra, but they just did it in a kind of roundabout way, and the ending felt a bit contrived with the whole helicopter crash and
Yeah.
the whole kind of Nick Fury's gone, but he's not really gone thing. Has been
I
I'm
think that
so
was just
annoyed
death
by
death
now.
so many
that
times
was playing
now.
it safe. I think.
I'm
Yeah.
so tired of death fake outs in the Marvel
Yeah.
films now. They kill people and keep them
when
dead.
did they do a lot of death fake
Well,
outs?
Coulson. You
Oh.
got Coulson. You got Tony Stark
I
in the
Don't
Avengers.
consider Coulson.
You got Tony Stark in the Avengers. You got Pepper in Iron Man 3.
Oh.
Loki in Thor 2.
Yeah.
Nick Fury,
Nick Fury.
No, it's getting time.
It's like keep people dead
Groot,
now.
kind of.
Groot. Yeah, Groot.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So you just
But
keep
that
people dead
was
now.
a nice one because it's literally.
It was kind of cute one.
Yeah.
I don't even have that much. I think it's really bland. And
There's
it's
not
just
a lot of personality
bland,
to it.
and the action sequences are good, but I think it's a bit boring. I've seen it a few times because people keep going, "Oh, watch it again." You just don't understand it, and the more I
Don't
watch it,
understand it.
yeah, the
I think
more I
the more
watch it,
the
the less I
annoyed
like
you
it.
get. James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. I have nothing but praise for this film, 100%. So I will defend it.
So you don't think there's
To the
any
death.
faults with it?
Ronan.
I know, right? I get the idea. Like, you fucking hate Ronan. I don't know why. He's good.
I don't hate Ronan.
You
I
do.
don't hate
You
him.
constantly
It's
go
just he's the-
on and
he's
on
the
and on
worst.
about how
He's the worst
bland,
part.
boring,
He's
useless.
the worst part.
He's awesome.
What
He
is
looks.
awesome?
He looks really good. He's villainous enough to be like hammed up in the whole kind of space opera realms of it all. He's
Jack's
really
pulling that
good.
face.
He's just.
Are you doing the Jack?
He's
face?
just like they just.
The
thought-
6 out of 10
The
Jack
6 out
face.
of 10 Jack. It's, Ronan's just the problem for me.
Me too.
Because he's
not.
basically, it's just like
He not only is
slightly
he,
religious Darth Vader knockoff kind of.
he's
Yeah.
not a not right. He's at the very least he's functional. He is
Oh,
useful
yeah.
enough
I
so
know-
that he can allow the Guardians to be themselves.
I
and
know
do whatever they
why
want.
they did such a
Boring,
basic
bland
villain,
that
just
they
because
start
they have to
with, yeah.
focus on introducing these 5 heroes, which
Yeah,
is more
exactly.
than any of the other Marvel films have had to do. Because even Avengers, you've seen them all before,
Yeah.
and they're just putting them
They
together.
can get a better villain
Yeah.
for the sequel.
And
like-
then Guardians, yeah.
it's fine. Batman Begins does it
If
too.
they do a better villain
He's
for the
not
sequel,
bland, though.
like that,
Otherwise, villains aside,
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, you know I love it.
exactly.
yeah.
That you
That's my
can't
number one.
you can't beat
Marvel
the
film.
fact that they're all so. There's so many characters
And
to love
I'm not
as well.
even tired of the awesome mix now.
Exactly.
No.
Non-stop.
Exactly.
no.
The soundtrack. I'm not even like you said you're tired of the on your left thing that people keep quoting it.
Mm.
Anytime anyone ever quotes Guardians, I'm not tired of it. And it's not even.
think
There's
I
not
am, yeah.
one particular quote that everyone goes to
No,
either. There's so many,
I think I'd agree with that, but I
Mm.
might think of something later. But until then, I think I agree.
and the writing is so.
I do think the
I don't
action
think-
sequences aren't quite up to the standard of. Other than the bad action sequences, but I don't think they're quite as
I think it's just.
good as like.
I
the-
like
I just
the
think
mix
ship
of them,
battles are quite hard to get
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
the. I like
involved in.
Yeah.
because this is the first one where there's an actual space battle
Yeah.
Yeah.
with spaceships.
I think
And
it's
I
just
like
'cause
how-
it's ships and it's less people.
That's
think
the
it's
other
a
thing.
bit
I
hard to
like
get.
Especially, there's a big thing at the moment about, especially the DC movies, how bland looking they are. Like in
Yeah, I
terms of
like how it
colours.
looks.
I love how colourful it
I
is.
Ben Davis' cinematography.
Yeah,
now, 'cause
it's
he
so
does
like they
Matthew Vaughn's
embrace
films, so.
the green and the yellow and the purple, and
Because
it's
he did Kick-Asses, and that's
Yeah.
also really colourful.
Colourful, yeah.
all you got to do is look at the difference between Kick-Ass and Kick-Ass 2 to see the difference in cinematography.
Yeah, that's true.
Last in the film slate, Avengers: Age of Ultron, which we reviewed last week.
And we've seen it twice now.
A lot of my and probably our love for it overall comes from a fanboy perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I know a lot of people have, because there are flaws with it,
Yes,
but I ignore those flaws because of fanboy.
it's flawed, but it's also, like you said, it's one of the most fun films in a long
One
time.
of the most fun and one of the most true to comic book spirit, rather than
And
the
even
comic books
even
themselves.
if you take away the flaws, even if you accept the flaws, there's still a lot that's really really good. Ultron is everything that Ronin isn't.
Fair enough.
And you've got the humour's still there, and the Whedonness is all
The
there.
We
Whedon-
didn't
still
quit,
there,
so
yeah.
amazing. And I love how, like, we saw it twice in the space of the same weekend, and I was just as excited to see it
Me
the
too,
second
yeah.
time as I was the first.
And the action sequences are the best that they've been in
Yes.
any of them.
I
would
will
say.
say one
action
thing:
sequences
the Hulkbuster scene. Everyone
my
goes
favourite
on and
scene.
on and on. Yeah, but I think it drags on a little bit too much.
I think the end action sequence drags on a bit, but I think the Hulkbuster scene is my favourite one.
Fair enough.
I think the end's dragged on. I don't think the Hulk is dragged on.
It's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's
It
cool.
is really
yeah,
cool. And then there's loads of other stuff to do with Phase 2. Like there's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I really like. I really like the direction they've gone in with Season 2.
You say you really like
Well,
it? Or like it?
it's kind of like a 7.
Do the 6 out of
A
10
6
face.
or a 7.
I haven't
Jack
seen it, so I
face.
can't judge. But,
Yeah, but-
it looks like the kind of show that you'd have on in the background
Yeah,
while doing
exactly.
other things.
That's what it is.
It did.
It has a couple of
Like,
them.
you could
It
go away for
started
5 minutes
shaky.
and you wouldn't miss
Yeah,
anything.
it started really shaky, and then towards the end of Season 1, they really found their groove.
Yeah.
Season 2, they brought in a whole bunch of new characters, mixed it up way too much,
Mm.
and again, it started. I still haven't seen the second half of Season 2, but I love the way they left it. They started
Yeah.
bringing in Inhuman stuff. They started making it a bit more important,
Mm.
which is really good. Also, the
That's what they
episodes-
need.
Yeah.
needed
When
to
is
do that.
Inhumans
Exactly.
coming out? Because I know they're
not till like
referencing it,
2019,
and they're
It's a
really
long way away. Yeah.
planning
But
ahead with that.
The few episodes I've seen of Agent Carter were also really good.
Really?
I've heard-
Yeah,
no,
like,
I've heard
I
good
think
reviews for
better
that.
than Agents
Yeah.
of Shield.
Okay.
I think because
'cause-
it's almost a mini series. People prefer
Exactly, and there's they keep to the time period really well, but they do really inventive. It's quite steampunky,
Okay.
and it's really cool.
And then
And then
Daredevil,
Daredevil.
which is
I still haven't finished it, but I still
Have you
adore
finished
I,
it?
I still haven't finished it.
Okay.
But it's my second in phase 2.
I've finished
like,
it.
I-
It's
even though it's
great.
TV,
adore
it's-
what
It's
they've
great all
done.
the way through. And I think Charlie Cox is really well cast. Like,
I think he's
Yeah,
probably
so
one of
good.
my
It was
favourite
good.
heroes. Yeah, definitely.
And that, like, even if you didn't like the rest of the show, if you didn't like that fight scene at the end of episode 2,
Ooh, the one
Oh,
take. Yeah.
you have
I
something-
love how kind of differentiated they have.
Yeah.
They've done
that
it
was
from
my
everything
only
else.
problem with it, is that I think it works brilliantly self-contained, but as soon as I remember, whilst like the Kingpin's smashing someone's head in with a door, as soon as I remember that somewhere in that same universe there's baby Groot just
Yeah.
down there, you're like, ah!
Well, it's so many different sides to it, and not just that. Like we were talking about this when we came out of Age of Ultron the other day. If you put Daredevil into the Avengers, he would die instantly.
Yeah.
He
I
would
just like
literally
that,
be
like,
crushed
how
by falling
weak
rubble and be gone.
And I like how weak he is. With
Yeah,
those
how
fight
vulnerable.
scenes.
Oh, yeah.
and, yeah. It's a much more human story, and
I
it
think-
engage with the kind of
It's a good crime epic, isn't it? It's like a good
oh,
crime
no,
story.
yeah. And
Because there are
he's
whole
my
episodes
favourite
where
villain.
Daredevil
King-
doesn't really show up.
No, Kingpin is my favourite Marvel villain, actually. I
Yeah?
have to say. Yeah.
I think he's
That's my
definitely the
second.
most. I think because he's had the most time and the most
Yeah, exactly.
backstory.
Yeah.
So he's got the most character to him, which is
That's
what
true.
I like the most. But I heard the comparison that it's basically just like Marvel's Batman at this point, but like less.
Not in a
I'm
reductive
rich.
way.
There were
Do you
some
mean,
very
like,
Batman Beginsy moments.
Do you mean that he's like
No, in
their
a good-
quality
he's
of Batman,
the-
not
he's
a
the
Batman rip-off?
dark, no, not the
Yeah.
rip-off. Like he's the quality, like realistic in some ways, but
Mm.
it's even more realistic than Batman because he's
Grounded.
super rich and has shark spray.
Mm.
But yeah, no, Batman's like one of the favourite superheroes.
Marvel Phase 2, we approve. It's
Where's the Falcon movie, guys?
yeah.
That's one thing I didn't mention when we were talking about the Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier also loses points for introducing that fucker into the Marvel
Why do
universe.
you hate Falcon so much? He's fine.
He's
perfectly
he's alright.
fine. Yeah, there's nothing bad about him.
There's nothing bad about him at all.
There might not be anything great about him. There's nothing bad about him.
How he looks, his
What do you mean, how he
personality.
looks?
Yeah, how he
He
looks,
looks
is fine.
shit.
Yeah, he has
Why don't
wings,
he-
but
his wings.
There's
that's just
worse.
The
I
fact
mean,
that-
There's way worse
That's a
out
super
there.
power is that he's got wings, which they've already
I know, but they
established.
look
Lots
like
of
he's
other
got
people have done in the
guns.
past.
No, no,
He's
that's
got
fine.
those
I
goggles.
don't know. He's got goggles. How can you hate him? He's got goggles.
He's just dual wheels guns.
He's really
doesn't he?
Yeah.
well trained as well.
So
He's
like
kind
a
of
good
like
puppy.
he's kind of like a slightly less good version of Hawkeye or Black Widow that uses guns and can fly.
I think you just summed up what I think. Yeah.
I think he's fine. Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, Thor 2, Ultron, Guardians, Daredevil, Iron Man 3.
I'm not going to include Daredevil because I haven't seen the whole thing yet. But Winter Soldier, Dark World. The top three are really close together, but I'm probably going to have to say Iron Man 3, Ultron, and then Guardians. But they're so close.
Say Thor 2, and then Winter Soldier and Iron Man 3 are equal, and then Ultron, and then Guardians.
Cool. Right. Thank you for watching. I'm just going to smother chat.
Level 4.
You two
Because
dead
he thinks Winter
characters.
Soldier's as good as Iron Man 3.
Yeah, no, that's wrong.
That's just objectively wrong. Thank you for watching.
Oh, shall I swap it with Guardians?
If there's a bit
It's
around here,
complete hatred.
can we just... Bye.